getting a real offseason at center is huge. I mean, you kind of go back to my college years. I really never had a real offseason of center. I was always playing 5 or 6 different positions. So being able to really hone on one has been awesome. So I think I'm going to make a great jump. I'm going to give it as best I got and have some fun.
What's good, Raider Nation? Welcome back to Vegas Nation, 1st and 10, your weekly go-to for Raider news and analysis. The voice that you heard leading into the show was Jackson Powers Johnson, the Raiders' second-year full-time center, and we're going to get back to that in terms of the importance of that. But before we do, I just want to remind everybody I'm Vinny Bonsignore. I cover the Raiders for the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Vegas Nation. This is Adam Hill, my colleague from Vegas Nation, also the Las Vegas Review-Journal, covers the Raiders and everything else in Las Vegas for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Just a reminder, all of Vegas Nation podcasts, including 1st and 10, are brought to you by the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Station Casinos STN Sports, and we thank them for that support. Adam Jackson Powers Johnson going into year 2, a little bit slimmer. Jackson Powers Johnson. I knew there was something different. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things about covering the NFL is seeing rookies go from their rookie year to their second, OTAs, and seeing how the bodies look a little bit different. And it's usually always the case. You're always going to see some differences, but in Jackson Powers Johnson, definitely noticeable that he looked different and he let the cat out of the bag. What did he say, 10, 15 pounds?
Yeah,
that he's trimmed off. So that can only, I'm sure, help. I don't think he's ever going to lose any power. But if he could be a little bit quicker, even better athlete, and he's a tremendous athlete, all good for the young center.
Yeah, and I think this offense calls for a little bit more athleticism from the offensive line. Certainly playing center calls for a little bit more athleticism. I don't know that it was for football, though. I mean, you heard him talk how passionate.
Golf, maybe.
Yeah, he's playing in the Raider Golf League. I think the Raider Golf Club is the official name. Hit a huge putt yesterday at Summit Club for a tie on the 18th hole. And he was very excited to talk about golf today. I'll say that because I was trying to throw like a throwaway comment as he left the stage, and then he came back to the podium and he's like, "No, we got to talk about this." I think he got in shape for golf. I think that's why. I don't think it had anything to do with football.
All right. Well, for whatever reason, he definitely looks different. I wouldn't say better because he didn't look bad or anything like that last year, but he looks like a different dude in some ways.
Clearly, I'm joking about golf, but
yes.
I'll say this: you can sometimes tell about a person and like put it into different terms, right? So one of the things he talked about today was how proud he was that first week of Raider Golf Club, and it was a tournament that went on kind of all spring into summer here. Was started by A.J. Cole and Daniel Carlson as the team captains. They recruited a bunch of players, really good for camaraderie, competition, that sort of thing. But JPJ was talking about how he was out for the first week and shot in the hundreds and was pretty embarrassed about it. Yeah. And he said, started working on the game a little bit more. He said got in a little bit better shape and then said, okay. And then he was in the 80s at Southern Highlands a couple weeks later and was really working on his game and refining his skills. So, again, does that matter in the grand scheme of things? No. Right. But it tells you what kind of commitment he has to, I'm going to get better at something. I'm going to work on this. And I think that translates at times to the football field.
Didn't just throw in the towel.
Yeah.
Stuck with it. And golf is a very easy sport to say, I'm just not that good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to waste my time out here doing this. But he certainly took the opposite approach to that and how it helps him in football. Probably in no ways, but it tells a little bit about Jackson Powers Johnson. But when we talk about football I know my wife would be mad at him right now because he used the word, it's the funnest offseason. It's most fun. Yeah. My wife, she literally corrects me on that all the time. So I'm right there with you, Jackson, but we get the point. Yeah. He literally said that this is the most fun. He did say it twice. What he meant was this offseason has been the most fun for him of any offseason that he's had in football. A couple of different reasons. Number one, he's basically focused on one position, which is center. He's always been so versatile going back to his Oregon days that he was playing all over the offensive line during the offseason. But you don't have to go too far back also, that rookie offseason last year where he wasn't even out here.
Yeah, he didn't do anything.
This time last year. Something happened. We still to this day don't know what. Right. Officially. Between rookie minicamp, was it, right?
Yeah.
It was maybe the first day of rookie minicamp, or at least the day that we had, because he was out there.
Yeah.
Then he wasn't out there, and briefly made an appearance in minicamp, if I remember correctly.
And then
Very quickly. Then wasn't there again.
And then I believe with sunglasses was out there.
Okay, and then we didn't see him until
That's a hint.
the last half of training camp. Or not the last half, the last week, I think it might have been of training camp.
Yeah.
So bottom line is Jackson Powers Johnson did not really have the benefit of this time, which is a very important time last year. So I would imagine just being healthy makes it more fun.
Oh, no. It makes it funner.
Funner.
Yeah, for sure. I think for sure. And it's that work. Like, he did have a good rookie season for sure, but I think you always question, could it have been better? How much better could it have been? How much more would he have been, ingrained in the offense, all those sorts of things, had he been able to be out there sooner and, putting in this kind of work. And so now this is his first, full off season with the team. First time he's able to be out there, and you can tell how much fun he's having, how much he's enjoying it, and what that work is doing for him in terms of improving, getting ready for the season. And this is where you kind of learn. You talk about that jump from year one to year two. It's talked about all the time, but really a big part of that is learning how to treat the off season, learning what you're supposed to do in the off season, how you get yourself ready. In his case, it's by getting better at golf, but also getting in better shape and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But, you learn from the veterans, hey, how do you handle the offseason when you start working out? And everybody has their own way of doing it, and everybody has to perfect it. Most players say, well, you have to make sure you take time off. You have to make sure you heal yourself up before you start building yourself back up, that sort of thing. We know Max Crosby is kind of the opposite. He starts right away, just a crazy person there in the gym. So everybody has their own way, and everybody has to figure out their own way. But it is interesting to see how guys learn how to handle the off season.
And in Jackson's case, he said that he spent a lot of time with Max, and a lot of time with Colton Miller. And I guess you couldn't pick two better dudes on your team, veterans on your team, to kind of hook up with in your first off season as an NFL player. By the way, you had mentioned the athletic ability this offensive line is going to require. I think this offensive system is going to require. And I'll tell you what, today, Adam, and I'm just saying, I'm just observing. I'm not trying to blow anything out of proportion or anything like that. But there were 3 times where I had to look down and to say, who is that? And it was Caleb Rogers. And the quickness and the burst that he had getting to that second level, I know they're not blocking or anything like that. And so I get that. But talk about athletic ability. Yeah. This dude can move for a man as big as he is.
Yeah, no question about it. And you see him out there for sure. He was actually a guy I was thinking about a lot because Jackson was talking about making some of the rookies come over and do his laundry, things like that. He's like, it's nice to not be a rookie, so he can do that now. And I was like, he's significantally older than you, Jackson.
Wow.
Yes. I mean, take it easy there. I think you're 22 and he's like 24.
Right.
He's an older guy, so. Yeah. So be careful, I guess, a little bit with that. But it is interesting. Jackson Powers Johnson seeing himself as one of the veterans now. He's been around a little bit. But you certainly see that athleticism and the guy that's played a lot of games, so a lot of experience coming into the league.
As somebody, I'm Italian, so I can tell you right here that I do have some family members where, your cousins? No, I'm his uncle.
Yeah.
But you're younger than he is.
Yeah.
Well. That just crazy how that worked out. Exactly. So anyway, in football sense, yes, especially with the way things are working with NIL, I think, and transfer portal and all that, you're going to have some situations where we already have seen it, where you have a 26-year-old rookie talking to a 22-year-old 2-year veteran.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It could get crazy sometimes. All right, so we talked a little bit about the offensive line.
Sorry, just to go back even, it goes. It's unique right now because of the COVID year. Because a lot of guys have been in 5-6 years. They've been in college for some guys. But we were talking last week with Chip Kelly, and you had asked him about Michael Mayer, and still having a lot of potential to unlock. Like Michael Mayer is going into his 3rd year. He's 23 years old. And there's other guys that are rookies that are 24, 25. Right. I mean, those things can't happen right now. But you also have to, sometimes guys are on a different learning curve, a different trajectory. And a lot of times you can read that by just how old they are. Like if you're a 24-year-old rookie, like your process has to be accelerated. If you're 21, it might take a little bit of time, and that's understandable.
Michael Mayer told me his COVID story was Notre Dame was supposed to start the year in Ireland, I think, that year. didn't get my trip to Ireland because COVID in 2020. 2020 season.
So they ended up playing the Ireland game when he was already in the NFL.
Exactly. He missed it by that much. But yeah, I mean, that was a dude that showed up at Notre Dame, was good. See you later. I'm off to the NFL. And he's somebody that I do want to talk about. I wrote about him going into today's OTA practice, and somebody that, as we talked about, Chip Kelly said, he's only 23 years old, and there's been various reasons why it hasn't popped for Michael Mayer. And I don't know what the ceiling is for him in this offense with the players that he's playing around. But if the Raiders could get to a point where they could get 40 catches, 35 to 40 catches from him, and he's a guy that I think will be able to score some touchdowns if he's targeted in the red zone, get some first downs. Even you go back and look at some of the passes that he's caught over his career. A lot of them went for first downs, so they were big plays. Talk about in your eyes what a meaningful season could be for Michael Mayer in this passing game.
Yeah, and we've seen him really mature as a blocker too.
Yeah,
I mean, that's something he's worked on a lot and been dedicated to. And look, Brock Bowers isn't blocking. I mean, occasionally, every once in a while, yes, he's capable of it for sure. I'm not criticizing his ability to block. You don't want him blocking.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. So as a tight end, if you're going to be on the field, you're probably going to have to block if your name's not Brock Bowers. And to your point about the numbers, I don't think you can necessarily set a number. I will say, conversely, you want Brock Bowers' numbers to be down this year. That would be ideal for team success because that means a lot of other people are getting involved. You want Michael Mayer's numbers to go up, Brock Bowers to go down, Jacoby Myers to stay where they are,
Jack
Bash catch balls, Thornton catch balls. You want everybody else to be involved. That's why you ideally want Brock Bowers' numbers to go down. I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive to people, but and Ashton Jeanty, by the way, being a little bit more involved than they were last year. So,
him in a second.
But yeah, I think you ideally that's what you want. So you want to see Michael Meyer more involved for sure in this offense, and you want to see everybody more involved. That's how you have success.
A little observation about your guy Ashton Jeanty and talking about him in the pass game. That's what you were kind of referring to. There was a period where quarterbacks are thrown in running backs, right? So the way it works is obviously Geno Smith gets the first rep. It's only there was a center, quarterback, and a running back. All right, and it was just basically running back runs I think it was a curl route up the field. All right, so every quarterback got a chance. All right, and Geno was done. I mean, not done, but his rep was over. He kind of takes a few steps over here, and then it circled through. It was Aiden O'Connell and Zamir White comes in, and then all of a sudden, here comes Cam Miller, fourth quarterback, I guess you could call him right now, jumps in to take a snap, and right behind him was Ashton Jeanty. So it circled back on the running back to Ashton Jeanty. Here comes Geno Smith, rookie, take a back seat, and Cam looks at him. Oh, gotcha. Just so he could throw to Ashton Jeanty, and that was it was a beautiful throw, beautiful catch in that sequence. But what I noticed too, watching Ashton, catch the ball today, was there were a couple of balls that were on the ground that he went down and got. And cleanly was able to show because not every throw is going to be perfect. You want it to be perfect, but that's not going to be the case in the NFL. I really like the adjustments that he was making, catching the ball today, and I truly believe that he's going to be somebody that Chip Kelly is like, why wouldn't you want to throw him the ball?
Yeah, for sure. There was another downfield though that wasn't very good that he went and got with his hand, like a hands catch that he made down the field. He's not catching the ball like you would expect maybe a running back who struggles in that area to do. Again, I think a lot of people believe the ability is there. It wasn't really utilized that much. Right. When you look at the numbers, we've talked about this a little bit on the podcast. You look at the numbers; they were there 2 years ago. They weren't there last year. But even when they did use them, it was mostly a shuffle pass or just an extension of the run game. Essentially, it didn't really use him as an actual receiver. And so I think the Raiders want to. I think they believe he can do that, and that's really a lot of what they're working on right now. And it goes back to, and I don't remember if we talked about this on the podcast last week or not. So much was made of the stance of Ashton Jeanty. Yeah. It sounds like, and Chip Kelly lying about not being the one to tell him, the one to tell him about it. But it sounds like the biggest thing is in the passing game. They want him to change his stance because it helps him in the pass game. A lot of people were like, "Oh, he's just taking a handoff. What does it matter? Let him feel comfortable." But they think he can be better in the pass game if he starts with a different stance. That's part of why it was such a big deal to them.
And the reason I noted that with Geno was because it told me that Geno understands I got to get on the same page
Yeah.
with him. Every rep matters between me and him because what does that tell you? They're gonna make it a point to throw him the ball. And the starting quarterback said, "No disrespect, Mr. Rookie, but you're out of here. I want to work with number 2 right here." So a little mental note that I made. Real quick, we're going to go to our own Heidi Fang and Chuck Esposito from Station Casinos STN Sports. They're going to talk about Ashton Jeanty and some prop bets with the Raiders' young rookie running back.
And joining us now here on the First and 10 podcast for Vegas Nation, we have Chuck Esposito, the race and sportsbook director for Station Casinos, in for his weekly segment. And Chuck, I want to start talking right off the bat about the NFL futures you have available on the STN Sports app for Station Casinos, because as we saw this week, the Madden cover was unveiled, featuring none other than Saquon Barkley, who had a massive monsters, like his best career season, better than that broke a lot of records and everything. And the reason I bring him up is because he is on the cover of Madden, and he is also the favorite right now at plus 500 on the app to win the Offensive Player of the Year award. Do you believe in curses, Chuck?
I don't think so when it comes to his case. I mean, he had a phenomenal year. I mean, everybody remembers that hurdle, that backwards hurdle. He added so much to that offense, and you had, both him and Hurts who could run the ball, and the way they played overall, being the Super Bowl champs. I'd put him on the cover too if I was the one making the decision.
And of course, a couple of Raiders on the list. I wanted to make sure that I mentioned them. Brock Bowers being the selected favorite, if you will, for the Raiders at 55-1. And way down the list, I saw Jacoby Myers at 125-1 odds. I mean, he is coming off of a 1,000-yard season, only 4 touchdowns in the past year, but also going into a contract year, and currently no extension for Jacoby Myers. So I'm wondering, if he really wants to ball out and he has that good connection with Geno Smith, and Brock Bowers is completely forgotten. It's quite a long shot. But I was thinking, what are the chances that he could really step up and stop being, that silent guy that's been overlooked for so many years? And maybe, I don't know, does it sound wild to think Jacoby Myers could have a crazy season?
No, it doesn't sound wild at all. I think that they need some help at wide receiver, and he's kind of going to be the guy. I think they've solidified the quarterback position. It's so much different now with Geno Smith, and you're going to have Jeanty in the backfield, and you've got Bowers as well. That should open up some things. So I think there is some value with both Bowers and Myers there, and we'll see how it's bet. But I'm guessing our locals would back both of them pretty well. But I think Bowers is going to be someone that's getting a lot of love so far with STN Sports.
You just kind of hit on something that I had read in a column from Todd Dewey, our sports betting columnist, and I was wondering how the action has fared at Station Casinos. This week he had written up that the public is betting on the over Raiders win total at 6.5, and that some have bumped the number up to 7.5. I'm wondering what is going on right now in Station Casinos where the public betting money is with the Raiders, and how that's affecting any of the numbers and things that you've have you adjusted anything at all for this coming season?
It's funny you touch on that because I know Todd quite well, and we chatted about that as well. I was in that article, and we've kind of seen the same thing. I think it's a trend industry-wide. I think especially for us being so locally driven that Raider fans are backing the Raiders. I know they're in a tough division, but you add Pete Carroll, you've got a coach, a Super Bowl winning coach. You have Geno Smith, who's had a couple of really good years in Seattle. And we are seeing some over money, the over 6.5. I think it's heavily juiced right now. It may ultimately go to 7. I think it's a product of those guys, but they play in a really, really tough division with some really good coaches as well. But our guests so far are backing the Raiders to have over the 6.5 wins.
Chuck, I was also looking over some of the props you have available on Ashton Jeanty. Double-digit touchdowns, or not rushing touchdowns specifically, on the season. What kind of action are you seeing on the public from that, since we're talking Raiders and the investment that the public has in the players and the season and all?
It's one word: over. I could say it over and over and over again. It's over. If it's touchdowns, if it's how many yards from scrimmage or rushing yards from scrimmage, just based on what he has kind of said, and you've heard procrastinators out there say, this is what he's getting. It sounds like he is going to be the guy, a workhorse back, three down back, and in that case, you would favor the over, and that's the way our guests are betting it so far. over, over, over.
Well, I tell you what, I can't wait for the minicamp to begin. That's coming up in the next week of June as we are in the final phase of OTAs right now, the minicamp coming up. And that's when we're going to get a little bit more of a closer look at how they are going to use Ashton Jeanty in the offense, how they are going to use Brock Bowers in the offense. Heck, Michael Mayer, how does he come back and possibly a resurgent year for him, and Jacoby Myers as well. This is going to be a big, magnifying glass, I think, this year on how this team, especially offensively, regroups in this coming season after, let's face it, they've kind of flatlined and fell flat when it comes to offense and creating that and generating enough to win games.
I think when you look again, the division they're in, I mean, you've got Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and Bo Nix with Sean Payton and picking up Evan Ingram to help that offense. And they drafted a running back in Harvey. I think it's a division that's going to score a lot of points. And I think for the Raiders to be competitive and get over that 6.5 with Pete Carroll, with Geno Smith, with Chip Kelly, they're going to have to score a lot of points. So they've got some pieces there. We'll see how some of the young players kind of prevail and what their impact is. But I think it's an offense that is in a much better spot than it was, say, a year ago today.
I agree, and we're going to see the looks of that as I said before. The minicamp will get underway. We're in the final phase of OTAs. The offseason is starting to crank upwards, and then after all of that, training camp, which is personally my favorite.
Yay, football!
Yeah, except for the heat, although it has been raining and thunderstorming here in Vegas, everyone. So you never know what the summer months may bring. Maybe it's another huge monsoon season. But Chuck, I appreciate your time here today on the show, and we look forward to talking to you again next week.
All right. Sounds great, Heidi. Thank you.
Our thanks to Heidi Fang and Station Casino's STN Sports Race and Sportsbook Director, Chuck Esposito, for their weekly talk. And in this case, prop bets on Ashton Jeanty, the Raiders' rookie running back. Before we move on, I want to hear some sound here from a guy that, we've only talked to him a couple of times. You watch the tape, and the guy can definitely play football. But Landon Roberts, the Raiders' new middle linebacker, green dot guy, he's going to be kind of that leader of that defense. I guess a guy that just eats, drinks, sleeps football. There's certain guys that are just like that, especially linebackers for some reason. But let's hear some sound from the Raiders' new linebacker. We'll talk about it on the other side.
I feel like me personally, if I come here one day and feeling sorry for how hot it is outside or what we have to do today, I'm just cheating the process, because if I'm not every day in here with the mindset of leading my room, being that leader on the defense, being the green dot, bringing the juice every day to make sure that we at the standard that we need to be at, then I'm just cheating the process. And that's one thing that I harp myself in every day I wake up. You know what I'm saying? Once I hit them doors, I'm like, let's go. You're going to think like, dang, this get tired. But I changed once I got to the door.
That's a Landon Roberts. And I guess if you were to draw up your run-stuffing middle linebacker in how they look and how they talk, Landon, there might be a picture of and a little bit of audio of a Landon Roberts. So your thoughts on the Raiders' new middle linebacker?
Yeah, I thought very interesting, fascinating, kind of get to know him a little bit as we talked to him for the first time today. A lot of long answers, but answers that he doesn't speak in sound bites. I guess as you would say, as a somebody who you see that a lot with, especially the veteran players who get to a point where they just, here's my answer, is what I'm going to say, no matter what you say. He's speaking his mind and is excited about being here. I will say, made one massive mistake that people are going to get upset about. We got to work with these guys, and I actually talked to some people around the team and said, hey, let's get this fixed.
All right,
it's Nevada.
Oh, what did he call it? Nevada.
And guys come here. It seems like such a minute thing, but it is. There is locals that get mad and get annoyed and that guy's not locals. One. That is not part. Exactly, and I messed that up too. There are locals that get annoyed by that and frustrated by it. And he's just here to play football. He doesn't really care about the community. He doesn't even know what state he lives in. It's a real thing to people. And so I do think players. And look, I'm not crushing him for this. He's just got here.
It's a learning process.
But I do think it's something that players should be aware of. And hey, this is where you live now. You're part of it. He just got here, and he will learn that. But I know there are going to be people that hit me up and oh, how could he not know the name of the state? He's just got here.
Well, to those people,
Relax.
having moved here from California, I raise you another California kook coming from California. So, it kind of goes both ways. I respect the pride of Nevada. Right?
Yeah, Nevada.
It's Nevada.
Oh, look you've been here like 5 years.
I'm playing games. Oh. Nevada. Yes. It's Nevada, not Nevada. But it goes both ways. He'll learn. We'll talk to him. We'll make it a point to talk to Landon Roberts, to school him, or what do you expect? He's just stepped foot in Nevada. So he may not know, but yeah, that's it was kind of like Dylan Labby last year, the gray and black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It seems like little things. That's what I'm talking about. It seems like little things, but people do get worked up about it. And
how many times did Pete Carroll talk to us the first couple of times and he wasn't wearing Raider gear?
Yeah.
And I would get DMs like, "Can you tell him to wear some Raider gear?"
Yeah.
And I'm like,
people pay attention to this stuff.
Yeah, they do.
Which is crazy, but they do.
Yeah, rightfully so. Anyway, Landon Roberts. It was a loss.
I think a good fit, and I'll say this on the more serious side. Like I think there was questions. I never thought Robert Spillane was a fantastic player. I thought he was a good player, fit the defense. Mm-hmm. His biggest strength was how well he worked with Patrick Graham, how well he communicated with him, how well he got the defense in the right positions, what kind of a leader he was in that way. And I do think there's a question of how do you replace that?
Right.
Like, yeah, you can find players that are just as good, probably better than Robert Spillane. But how do you replace that, communication, the connection with Patrick Graham, all those things? I think we see it. Like it seems like Patrick Graham and Landon Roberts, who have just missed each other 2 previous times. Landon Roberts got to New England 1 year after Patrick Graham left, got to Miami 1 year after Patrick Graham left. Now they finally cross paths. It does seem like they have built that already. So I think that's a reassuring thing
to
for
the point.
For the fans.
And this is a funny time of year because if you are a player and you're in the building, there's only a certain amount of time that you literally get to be able to talk to your coach. Crazy, I know, but the rules are the rules. So they have to respect that. They can't just go. He can't just go knock on his office door and sit down there and talk for 3 hours. Even though it sounds like you would love to do that.
Well, they're not allowed to. They can. And it sounds like they do.
Well, it sounds like they both know what the rules are. So Landon has taken, at least from what he was to maybe just showing up at his house. Because I don't know that the rules extend to beyond the office, but all joking aside, it does show a level of commitment on his part to be that extension of Patrick Graham on the football field, and it feels like that fits him like a glove.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this real quick though, because you mentioned something important. You're replacing Robert Spillane. I'm with you. Robert Spillane was a good football player. But I do believe that if you could get just replacement level production from Landon Roberts, the Raiders should be okay at linebacker. It's not going to be great. There's no Fred Warners out there. Neither was Robert Spillane. But if you could get replacement level play from Devin White and Landon Roberts, then whatever concerns you might have at linebacker, for those of you who have concerns about linebacker, should be alleviated.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, yes, I think that's.
Do you think that they can provide that?
Potentially. Well, the thing is, Devin White, very high very high ceiling. Mm-hmm. Also, maybe a little bit of a low floor. Like, I mean, he could be great. He also has, very much struggled. Almost the defensive version of Alex Kappa, who has been very, very good and really, really, really bad. So I think that's what you're looking for is like if you get the good Devin White. Mm-hmm. And Landon Roberts is a solid player. Like, yeah, I think you're going to end up being fine in a position that a lot of people nationally are saying, hey, that's a huge weakness for the Raiders. Might not be.
Right.
So, but that is, you do have to get something.
If you don't, then it's a liability.
Yeah, you have to get something out of Devin White for sure.
Right.
But I think Landon Roberts is steady.
Yeah, I agree. It will be interesting to chart Devin White. There was an ankle injury last year with the Philadelphia Eagles. He never got on the field with the Philadelphia Eagles. Ended the season playing, I think, 7 or 8 games. Playing, but not really playing much with the Houston Texans. So it was kind of a lost year. But you don't have to go very far back to see Devin White putting up some pretty decent numbers. And he's still only 27 years old. This isn't a situation where the Raiders are asking a 32-year-old to dial back the clock to 28. It's a 27-year-old dialing back the clock to 25. So whether that happens or not, we're going to find out.
Yeah, in my mind when they first signed him, I was like, what is he? Was he 40?
Exactly.
Like, he's very young.
Yeah.
And not that he's been in the league that long or anything. It's just like you feel like he's been around so long because he was so good, so productive, and then he fell off the cliff. And usually that happens for an older guy, but it also could happen from injury, and that could be a big part of it. And let's take the comparison one step further with Alex Kappa and Devin White. Both played their best football in Tampa Bay, and obviously there's some people here who have seen their best football being played and said, hey, you know what? Maybe that works here. Maybe there's something that we know about him or we've seen in him that other teams didn't, and we can get the best out of him.
And they also might have known that there might have been some.
Sure.
Well, and certainly in Devin's case, there was an injury. Who knows what Alex Kappa might have been dealing with last year? It was kind of conspicuous, the fall off that he had. So maybe there was something physical going on, something technique-wise going on. We'll see. All right. So this wraps up, believe it or not, OTAs for the Raiders. That's over and done with as of this week. We move forward to next week, which is mandatory minicamp. It is June 10th through the 12th. We'll see if they actually take the field all 3 days. Sometimes the coach gives the players, that third day off. We'll see how many they have to, or they do get in. And then we're talking about training camp next month.
Yep.
We can officially say that now that we're in June. Training camp, the NFL season literally starts next month, which is crazy.
It's people talk about 365 days a year, 52 weeks a year for the NFL. There actually is an off season.
Yeah.
It's about 5 weeks long, and it's from mandatory minicamp to the start of training camp. That is the off season. That's when
A lot of weddings.
Yeah, I've talked about it before. I usually end up in Cabo. I usually see nothing but players and agents and general managers and coaches like all over the place. So that is the actual off season for the NFL.
It is.
This 5 week stretch coming up.
Right, it truly is, and it flies by because before you know it, we'll be talking about training camp. But first, got to talk about minicamp, which is next week. Any expectations, any observations that you're kind of zeroing in on?
No, I mean I think we've been watching a lot through as this has developed, as the OTAs have gone on. There are certain things that have stood out and continued to kind of become patterns that we've seen out there, and we'll see if that continues. I think there is still a lot of work to be done, obviously, but everybody seems to be continuing that, kind of building that momentum up until next week, and next week we're all kind of crescendos for this part of the year, and then dies down for a few weeks, and everybody's back here for training camp. So look to continue to see how they continue to develop and how they ramp things up going into that little time off.
And one promise that we can make is that we will be here, with you guys every single step of the way, whether it's in minicamp or training camp or when the regular season starts, which will be here before you know it, too. I just want to say thank you to the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Station Casinos STN Sports for their great support. I want to say thanks to our listeners and our readers. However you absorb the information and content that we put out, whether you're listening to the podcast, watching the podcast, whether you're reading our stories, whether you're looking at our photo essays, whether you're reading the great stories of Adam Hill, the great columns of Ed Graney, we appreciate you. And please continue to hit the like button, subscribe if you have friends, Raider fans, that are starved for Raider news. We're the best place.
Father's Day coming up?
Father's Day is coming up, absolutely. It makes for a great gift. It's a reasonably priced product to give you the most, and I'm not exaggerating that whatsoever. We offer the most coverage of the Raiders 24/7, basically 365 days out of the year, including the 5 weeks that they're going to take off here for a little bit. Vegas Nation is your one stop for Raider news. So pass the word along, and thank you for your support. Enjoy the rest of this week, or enjoy this weekend. We'll be back at it next week talking about Raiders mandatory minicamp. Our thanks to Heidi Fang as well. We'll talk to you guys next week.